Alright, so I'm going to be going over my Terminator Modpack here that I've put together. So, the way this works is you run a colony exclusively of androids, many of which are based on the, not, directly Terminators, but based heavily on the concept of Terminator. You get androids. Let's look at the mod list here. So, there's an android mod, um, which is just androids, and then there's this one, android tiers. So you get these normal looking, just cartoony robots, but then there's this additional mod that builds off of that, which is android tiers TX series. So these are a bunch of clearly Terminator inspired androids. So that forms part of the basis of this mod pack. You'll be playing exclusively as these androids, and I have also modified this mod for my own personal use to change the names of the different levels of androids to match Terminator mythos. So this will be a T800 instead of a TX2I or whatever they're called, like 900s. This is pretty interesting mod here, this TX series, because it has the lowest tier Terminators are actually like T600s. They have rubber skinned infiltrators instead of organic, and then the higher tiers you actually have to like stick them in a vat and grow skin on the infiltrators. It's pretty neat. There's some weird things with the balance skill-wise between them. If you're familiar with Rimworld, your colonists have a set of skills which determine how well they perform, and the infiltrators start with everything at 0, which is a bit whack. But usually by the time you have infiltrators, you can build them up using some other components of the mods to get their skills up faster. Another key mod that goes into this long set of mods here is an actual Terminator mod, which was supposed to be part of a series of Terminator mods that were never actually finished. So this one adds various weapons from the Terminator movies. The key thing here is it adds energy weapons, your traditional Terminator 2 Judgment Day plasma rifle, as well as the often called RBS or RSB weapon from the original Terminator movie, the Franco Colombo Terminator in the future. So that's kind of our endgame weaponry that we'll be aiming for in this mod pack. Get plasma rifles. I'm going to go through the whole mod list here because there's a bunch of other aspects of this mod list that really capture the vibe of Terminator. So we got a bunch of stuff here, just normal game stuff. The game and its expansion is on this list. But then we have some other mods here that just enable other mods. They're just toolkits. So we've got camera mod, which will allow us to zoom in, see the details of our Terminators better, which is fun. This enables the Android mod. We got faction control. So the purpose of faction control here is it sets up the enemies you'll be fighting to be more Terminator-esque. So what I do with faction control when I'm doing my playthrough later, which is the next video I'll upload after this, is I get rid of tribals. Because at no point do you see Terminators fighting a bunch of people with rocks and sticks. That's ridiculous. You want to fight people with guns exclusively. Capture that future war vibe. Heat map is another mod that is just a good utility mod. It's not really anything Terminator based. This is relevant for us though because we will be building servers. As we bring Skynet back online, we'll be building a network of servers and gadgets and gizmos and et cetera, et cetera. And some of those are temperature sensitive, so it'll be nice to know what temperatures we're looking at for thresholds in our servers overheating. Pickup and haul is just some utility stuff, set up camp. This will enable us to set up forward bases. So part of what my plan is for the actual campaign I'll be doing here is to eliminate all humans on the planet. I'll go through what the actual scenario is in the video, since this is just talking about the mod pack. But this will also allow us to do like mining bases. If we want to go out and do some mining. So this mod spawners and drones adds a bunch of these little weapons platforms, automated weapons platforms and whatnot. The big thing here from this mod pack that draws me is there's a mobile mine. So we'll be using those as our HK Silverfish. And I've gone ahead and I think I've successfully renamed them. I haven't been able to get them to show up in a quick hour or two of playing the game to see if I could verify that I had successfully renamed the mines to Silverfish, but that'll be our HK Silverfish, so that'll be fun. If we can get our hands on one of those, we'll be sending out a bunch of exploding little guys, which will be really neat. This is a mod that enables the wiping out of the other factions without it making it really tedious. So this generates a smaller planet. So instead of having to deal with extremely long ranges and travel times and the cumbersome caravan system, everything will be much smaller and we'll be able to deal with things better there. So, quarry. So this is an important part of our base building scheme here. So what we're going to use quarry for in this mod pack is our prisoners. So, much like in the backstory of Terminator movies where there was prisoner camps, work camps, we'll be able to set those up. So we'll be capturing humans and working them to death in our quarries. What fun. We have weapon stats. This will allow us to evaluate some of our weapons better. This becomes more and more useful the more mods you get into a pack because it starts to get really hard to tell which weapons are the best ones to use. Also allow us to quickly find weapons on the map and to filter our gear, like our equipment as well too. I use an unenforced house rule where any endoskeletons we make don't use gear. Gear is exclusively for infiltrators, which serves to balance their difficulty and creating them a bit more too, since they start with weaker stats. That's not true for the 600s. I should have mentioned that. It's weird that the rubber skin 600 infiltrators are basically the same as their endoskeleton counterparts, but that's not true for the 800s. And it's something I would like to change, but it would require a lot of work because I'm not very familiar with a lot of the XML settings for Rimworld. I just kind of did some control find and basic replacement stuff to alter names and whatnot. Altering skill sets and the way units work is beyond me. We've got some additional furniture stuff. Not a big deal. So, simple sidearms. This is a mod that allows us to have multiple equipment sets. So, the big thing we'll be using this here for is giving some of our Terminators utility grenades as a backup weapon to switch between. And then we have some tools as well. So our builders will have like hammers and whatnot. It'll be nice to give, not just a plasma rifle and have to manually switch between a hammer when we want them to build stuff. They can carry around both. Terminators with hammers, a little weird, but I like the utility weapons. So we've got a bunch of animals expanded mods. So depending on what biome you go to, you might have different animals that show up. Not really particular Terminator-y, but whatever. It's just good stuff to add. We've got some extra weapon types added. Wall lights, so instead of having lamps everywhere, we can have these little lights on the walls. Much more Skynet vibe sort of thing. In the scenario I've made, the starting scenario, we start with colored lights. So instead of having regular color lights, we'll do red lights in our base for the full-on like Terminator vibe. Room Atomics, this is a big part of this Skynet scenario as well, this mod pack. So Room Atomics allows you to build nuclear weapons, energy turrets, and nuclear bombs, or nuclear reactors. I already said nuclear weapons. Oh, yeah, nuclear power, energy weapons, nuclear weapons, yep. So this will form our late game energy economy as we run a nuclear reactor. It'll give us a bunch of really Skynet feeling energy turrets, which is fun. And we'll have nuclear bombs to deal with the final threats on the map at the end game. Which should be quite interesting. I've never used the nuclear bombs. I've done 4 test runs, partial test runs of this mod pack, two long games. Well, I decided what mods would go in and what mods wouldn't go in. And then 2 short games to test some final modifications to the mod pack, some small things, like renaming things and whatnot. So, but yeah, I've never seen the very, very end game of Room Atomics. I've gotten some pretty beefy turrets and defenses built, but I've never nuked anybody, so that should be fun. Doors expanded, we just get some more Skynet-esque doors to use. Bionics expansion. I don't know why this is in this mod pack, but whatever, it's fine. We don't have humans, so This is probably just something I had in at one point and never properly removed. The Android mods, we have some alternate storytellers. So if you're familiar with Rimworld, your storyteller determines aspects of your campaign. I've included a few in the mod pack just for potential alternate playthroughs. So the big one here is Hildegard, which is this one over here, which is the least cringy of these three visually. And the thing with Hildegard is that it's a raid-focused storyteller. I don't think I'll be using Hildegard, at least at the start. We might switch to her later. She's more difficult. But as I get into the scenario in the next video, I'll explain why we're going to have a pretty difficult start, both for thematic reasons and gameplay reasons. So, Rim Cities. This is another big part of this. It wouldn't be Terminator if we weren't fighting in the ruins of cities. So, Rim Cities will give us that. It'll give us more interesting cities to fight, and it will provide a starting location that really captures the Terminator vibe. We will start in a ruined city, and thanks to Rim Atomics, we will start in a ruined city covered in nuclear fallout for that full-on Judgment Day vibe. Where was I? Yes. So then we have questionable ethics. So this is how this mod is used in conjunction with the androids to get us the actual infiltrators with skin grown on them. But we also have some potential experiments we can do on the human populace. Glitternet, this will allow us to network a bunch of our base together to get that full, like, integrated Skynet vibe of, like, everything being connected, like a robot hive. Embrasure is just a defensive thing. You can set up walls that you can shoot through. Feels more thematic for Terminator to be hiding behind embrasures than, like, sandbags. Sandbags don't feel very Terminator-y, although we will be using them. Miscellaneous robots. So the important thing here is this gives us drones. So we get a hauling bot and a cleaning bot, basically a Amazon delivery drone and a Roomba. Not super Terminator-y to have Roombas running around, but it's more types of robots, little drones for our base, and it frees our Terminators up to do other stuff. Cybernet. This is networked body parts. I've never used it. It's an enhancement for the Glitternet mod. I've included it in the mod pack. Treading control. So part of the scenario will be not immediately actively aggressive to all the human factions. If we pissed everybody off in the early game, we'd be pretty screwed. So this just allows us to direct traders where we want them to go on our base. Quite exploitable too, and I will be shying away from using this in an exploitative way. Allow tool, more Rimworld, just quality of life enhancements, realistic planets, lets us do an Earth-like planet, changes the way the planet spawns slightly, not a big deal. Research tree, we got a bunch of mods. It's nice to reorganize those in a way that works good. This is just another support mod, which is way down in the middle of the list for some reason. Probably should be higher. Doesn't matter, so I'm not going to touch it. We get some more fences, which is nice. So we got a couple of different fence mods in here, I think. 2 or 3. We got a laser fence, very Skynet, very cool. Actually not particularly practical, but we'll use it for the lulz. Here we get some, like, more practical, like, chain link fences, and those will be much more useful because they're not powered. If your power goes down, your fences go down. That's pretty bad. Razor wire. Capture that, guerrilla warfare vibe some more. Also pretty useful. We got a drill turret. I've never used it, but it's got a very Skynet vibe to it, so I included it. We got some more security stuff. This will give us access to various mines that we can scatter around the map, as well as some more turrets. Even more turrets. You can't be building your Skynet central core without a bunch of turrets running around. The key thing here too is this has energy turrets, which is very Skynet. So that'll be fun. Mod Manager is just some support stuff. So Rimifeller, this is our mid-game energy economy and our late-game production, part of our late-game production scheme. So Rimifeller gives us access to oil. So we'll use oil for power as we're starting our base out until we can bring our nuclear reactor online. And then in the late game, it'll go into producing the raw resources we need for our army of Terminators. What the hack enables us to hack and modify the in-game mechanicals to add them to our Skynet army. That'll be decent. This is another Android Tiers add-on, the SM7. It's some sort of big combat mech. I have never used it. We'll see if we ever use it, but it's, yet more. We should call it like what's the one from Resistance, like the T-47 or something? It would be like one of those, some big silly combat mech. Dual wield. So, most iconic scene from Terminator 2 involving endoskeletons. Probably the skull. Second most iconic, the double plasma rifles. So we absolutely need dual wielding fucking plasma rifles, right? You can't have Terminator without dual wield plasma rifles. So this enables us to do that. Basically, I've allowed everything up to the basic plasma rifle. So you can't dual wield the big two-handed cannons from Terminator 1, the RBS/RSB, depending on where you're looking at. But you can dual wield the smaller 20-watt phase plasma rifle / Westinghouse M27 / whatever they're called in various Terminator media. And I've made it so the humans don't dual wield much, because doesn't make sense for a bunch of humans to be showing up with an assault rifle in one hand and a shotgun in the other hand, going full like Terminator 1 Arnie on us. It's ridiculous. So that's a benefit for ourselves. Prison labor is what enables us to force our prisoners to work for us, which is nice. We got harvest organs post-mortem so that we can, when our prisoners expire, we can drag them into our little medical lab and chop them up. See what we can learn from the humans. Extended storage gives us some more storage options. Can be nicely used to reduce some of the clutter in our bases. It actually isn't too useful in here. The pallets are useful in early game, but we've got some other storage options as well. Guards, so this allows us to assign our Terminators to patrol routes or patrol spots, which is a nice thematic thing. We've got industrial rollers, so this gives us assembly lines to move items around. This is going to be important because we're going to build automated Terminator factories that'll be churning out T-800s for our army for World Conquest. Locks. This allows us to control who can pass through what door. It's basically a requirement for prison labor to work. If we want to have things outside of just the prison. So prison labor works if you have like everything they need for their job within the prison. But with the lock mod, we can have like a yard outside where the quarry will be, and the prison can be a separate room. Conduit deconstruct is more quality of life type stuff. Concrete walls, just another Skynet thematic structural mod. Instead of building everything out of bricks of stone, which isn't very Skynet, we'll have these slabs of reinforced concrete and some other stuff in here as well. Cryogenerator, just another power option thrown in here. Never used it, but it seems it's Skynet enough to be included. So, short-range transport shuttle. So this is a mod that allows us a reusable transport. And what I have done is I have altered this mod and I have reskinned it as an aerial hunter killer, and it is referred to in-game as an aerial hunter killer. Unfortunately, we can't use it in a direct combat fashion, no bombing runs, no lasers, but it will be our primary transport for raids on enemy settlements. We got a fuse mod, and we got an expansion to the fuse mod. We'll be running some very high level energy requirements, and so fuses will mitigate some of the risk of our base exploding into chaos when we get a short circuit. Otherwise, we'll have the potential for some serious devastation, and min-maxing like conduit placement seems really goddamn boring, and I like having our power conduits snaking around rooms because it looks very mechanical. We don't care about aesthetics, so we'll just have power cables running everywhere. Run and gun. Another important thing from the future war in Terminator 2, you've got this advancing army firing as they approach. This will allow us to do that. We can shoot while moving at a penalty. I have also mitigated this for the humans, I think, in the settings, if I remember correctly. Because they should have... Well, they should be allowed to do it. I'll have to check the settings on that. But not to the capability of Terminators, obviously. Terminator, much more of a combat-oriented unit than a human being, so... War crimes should be self-explanatory. I haven't really used much of this, but it's thematic. Utility columns, just you get these futuristic-looking columns to replace some basic other functionality, which is nice. Good Skynet vibe. Android tiers unfeeling. This is just a minor patch that changes part of androids around to make them more useful. Quality builder, just a way to control who builds what a bit better. We got some expanded weapons, lasers. I mean, we'll be using our Terminator plasma rifles in the end, but having some lasers as mid-tier weapons before we get to the plasma weaponry, not bad. Pretty on brand. Vanilla furniture, expanded security. There was something in this that was really Terminator-y, and I'm not sure what it was. It might have been laser turrets or something. Power, yeah. So this can give us some more power options, which is nice. Rolling around with a bunch of solar panels and wind turbines doesn't feel very Terminator. So this will give us some more generator options, which feels much better. Reinforced walls. Yeah, so there's some more production options in there. Specifically, this has a more reinforced walls. Another specific reinforced walls mod here that has a style to it that's much more in line with the Terminator Skynet design style. So I like that. Just an optimization mod to reduce the amount of things in the game, make it run a little bit faster. Defensive positions, we can assign our Terminators a place to go when attacked so that we just hit one button, everybody moves to their assigned place. We already saw Terminator mod. Android repair kit. It's a way to bring our Terminators back after they've been killed. This might be pretty useful because our early and mid-game production is going to be dominated by our starting infiltrators. Some of the stuff has pretty high production requirements, and a lot of the low-tier Android/Terminators don't scale up very well. Particularly these guys. These are the Tier 1 androids. And we're going to be using our Tier 1 androids as our quote-unquote T-70s. We're going to borrow them from Terminator 2 3D, and that'll be our starting android. The Terminator-based androids don't kick in until the second tier, and I am doing house rules on when we can actually switch over. We can't just rush the tiers right away, because we want to get a sense of progression of technology, right? We want to start with 70s, work up to 600s, 800s, and then beyond. So it's good to do that. Good to limit ourselves a little bit. So the thing I'm doing specifically is for T600s, we need nuclear power. And for T800s, they can only be created in automated factories. And I'll be getting to the automated factories because those are really fun. We got some better graphic setting stuff. Go Explore gives us some extra things to do out on the world. Auto mortars. Get some more automated defenses. Good Terminator style stuff. Some extra bridges, nothing big. This one here is mainly for the fences, particular steel grating and metal panels. Gets a really nice Skynet vibe to our floors. Instead of having like tile, just tile or like stone bricks or wooden floors, we can get these really cool styles of floors. Wave survival, we won't be using this, but it is an option. Very raid centric. You get a wave every X days or whatever, and the waves progressively get stronger and stronger. Since I want to do a campaign where we go out into the world and actively hunt down humans, forcing us into a strictly defensive position doesn't seem quite on brand. So we won't be doing that, but it is an interesting option, so I have included it. I may upload this to the workshop if there's interest. So Project Rim Factory. So this is a big thing for us. So this is how we'll build our automated factories. So the big thing with this is we get a bunch of production options that are not inherently tied to our units. So in base Rimworld, you build some station, you assign a person to the station, and they produce stuff. Here, the stations will produce things directly. So what we can have is we can have these automated drills drilling up metals. The metals go onto conveyor belts. They're dumped to storage facilities. And then the assemblers pull directly from the storage facilities, produce the individual components we need to build our Terminators. And then the assemblers automatically build our T-800s for us. It is really goddamn cool. Unfortunately, it's going to take a while to get online in the mod pack, which is why the factories are a prerequisite for the 800s and nuclear power is a prerequisite for the 600s. Nuclear power we'll definitely need before the factory, and it will be easier to get online. The factory needs a lot more research options and a lot more resources to get it fully working. But when we get into this, I mean, that's basically when we're approaching our end game. Once we have a factory churning out Terminators, that's when we stop being friendly. We go actively on the offense and just start killing everybody. Mod designators, this just tells us which thing in game is from what mod. It can be a little bit useful if there's something we don't understand and we need to look up how it works. Prepare carefully. This allows us to specify the characteristics of our starting Terminators or starting units in general. We're going to need this because we need some particular minimum skill thresholds and whatnot, and our start is going to be very difficult, so we're going to need a little bit of a boost by crafting our pawns finally. Pawns being what, Rimworld people tend to call their characters, because they're little chess pawns. Character editor, this is kind of the same thing as prepare carefully, but you can use it in game. Very, very cheaty. Not really recommended. What I'll be using this for is to make some of the androids, particularly the later tier androids, more Terminator-like. So the one issue is the later tier androids in the Android mod by default become more human-like, and they get to the point where they get cranky when we're killing our innocent prisoners, and that's just not on brand. So basically what I'll be using character editor for is to add some traits to our new Terminators in the late game to make them more like Terminators, not so finicky and cranky. So that'll be all we use that for. No other cheaty stuff of like boosting their skills or something. They're gonna come out like they come out. Then we got complex jobs. So complex jobs just expands the job prioritization tab in Rimworld a bit. And this is really useful for us in particular because we're going to be starting in this ruined city, and deconstructing is going to be very important. And without this complex jobs tab here, construction and deconstruction are the same job. And we don't want our shitty low tier T-70s building our very expensive equipment because they will fuck it up. So we want to specifically really just split those two. There's some other job splitting in here that we'll make use of, but that is the big thing, is splitting deconstruct and construct. Because especially a lot of our early game resources are going to come out of the city, tearing up floors and whatnot. So that's going to be pretty huge for us. Yeah, so that's the whole mod pack. Like I said, I've altered a few of these for my usage. If this is something people are really interested in, I can probably upload the alterations to Steam for download, just like the original ones. Oh, I should mention this Rimworld one here too is a 1.0 mod, and I updated it myself to 1.1. But the updates needed to make it run was like one single line, and when you try to run it in 1.1, the error tells you exactly what you need to change in the mod, so it's really easy to do. Like, I had no idea how Rimworld modding worked at all, and I just looked at the error, cracked open the XML file, found the line it said didn't work, and changed it to what it said would work, and it just worked. The other thing I had to do with this one is the energy weapons are not craftable by default, so I just allowed them to be craftable. Otherwise, we would have to only start with plasma weapons, and we never get any more, and that would be lame as hell. It's Terminator, right? We want our goddamn plasma rifles. Yeah, so that's the overview of the mod pack. I will do the first video shortly, starting out our campaign. Full disclaimer, it may be a few videos that you don't see because it's quite a realistic probability of wiping very early if we get like a bad start. And I'm not gonna include a bunch of failed attempts if we get unlucky. Like I think we should be fine, like 75% chance of not getting destroyed, but bad things can happen and there's no real room for error initially. So, but it should be fun. Yep. So look forward to that.